And that's where things stand. Lowell took a sip of the black tea that Nanim had brought out as she finished explaining the situation. It was my hubris that led me to think that I could put one over on you if given the chance. But I've given up on taking this opportunity to rise up in the world. From now on, I'll focus on crushing the rebellion. Join me in devising a strategy. Wayne sat directly in front of her. He shot Nanim a look. Thoughts? She doesn't seem to be lying, she replied in silence. Wayne pouted and groaned. I'm honestly having a hard time believing you. What? Doubting a friend? Do you think I'd try and trick you two? I get the feeling you're asking us to cooperate because your dirty ploys didn't work out. Isn't that right? Well, yes, you're not wrong, Wilhelmina cocked her head to the side with a blank look. And what can I do to get you to believe me? I mean, you're the one making the request. Shouldn't you come up with something? You're right. Let's see. How about I take off my clothes? I won't stop you if you think you can. Trust can be taken as lightly as fabric. Wayne shrugged his shoulders. But you're underestimating me. I'm not so stupid that I'd fall for your womanly wiles. Anyone with eyes can see what you're trying to do. Faish will join me. She's waiting outside. Give me more details. Yeah! Nanim's pen stabbed the back of Wayne's head. Wayne, we don't have time to play around. Yeah, I know, Wayne grumbled, rubbing the sore spot. To confirm, Loa, are you willing to do anything to stop the revolt? Of course, I'm no longer in a position that grants me any other choice. All right, then tell me everything you know about Grinnahay and Aunt Godol. Wilhelmina nodded and divulged as much information as she could, and she knew a ton. Seeing as she'd originally planned to have Natra defeat Aunt Godol for her, she had a deep understanding of their military power and geography. At max, they have 4,000 men. Huh. Wayne parroted. I know the Garen state would be able to gather twice as many, but I guess that sounds about right if we're talking about Aunt Godol. And all their weapons are from the west? That said, they're short on commanders, and their current bunch have low proficiency. They also have an insufficient number of horses if it comes to war. I take it that their main force will be composed of foot soldiers. True, if it comes to war, Wayne declared. Wilhelmina tilted her head to the side. You did suppress a feud between tribes without spilling any blood. Could it be that you've actually become a philanthropist? As if. I just don't want to waste manpower. It would have been a lose-lose if to use my troops to battle my own people. As for our current situation, I want to avoid war for one simple reason. Because we're broke. Okay, but how broke are we talking? Prepare to be amazed. Let's not think about defense for now. With our current budget, we can deploy about 500 soldiers. Wilhelmina's eyes practically popped out of her head. You're joking, right? True story. We haven't recovered from our war with Martin at all, right, Nanim? If we mobilized any more, we'd risk affecting government affairs. And I'm not confident I'll win against 4,000 soldiers with 500. We might have a shot with Hegel in command, but we've got no time to call him back from his post along the western borders, which means there's no way for us to challenge Aunt Godol. At least not head-on, Wayne laid out. Wilhelmina reluctantly nodded. I see. I understand why you have to avoid war at all costs, but if that's out, how should we resolve this problem? Let's take another look at the issue. Is our goal to take down Grinnahay with military force? No. We want a verbal confession about the revolt, putting a stop to this plot at once. In other words, we make Grinnahay lose his mind and surrender without wasting a single cent. Wayne grinned. Besides, we've been doing the impossible since our school days. Come on, let's think of a ruse. It had been about 10 days since Grinnahay received the news of his son's death. Winter was just around the corner. Even those in urban areas far from the mountains had announced sightings of snow. Master, the townspeople have submitted petitions asking you to admonish the soldiers for their violent and raucous behavior. And those very same soldiers have become disgruntled by how the townspeople are treating them. At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we have deserters. We have correspondence from the state governor and magistrate master. Please look this over. The problems in his territory kept cropping up, refusing to come to rest. Even if he'd just lost his own son, and in any normal situation he should have prioritized the reports that rained down on him in rapid-fire succession. But Grinnahay couldn't spare the mental energy. Shut it. You take care of the small stuff. Natra comes first. How are the investigations on their kingdom coming along? These past 10 days, Grinnehay hadn't taken any action. Or more precisely, he couldn't. He'd been thinking of invading and capturing Princess Loamina. But just as he was about to mobilize his army, he feared the Empire's own soldiers might come. He never issued the order. Well, there was one thing that he did do. Put the mansion under strict guard. He ordered the townspeople to heighten their surveillance, but there hadn't been enough people to handle the matter. Since Grinnehay wasn't on top of things either, nothing changed. We haven't received any word of the investigation. You useless fools. Shit. What about the servant who escaped? They just recovered and... Fetch them. I'll ask what happened myself. Grinnehay roared at his subordinate, taking his anger out on his underling in a fit of rage. His dignity had been meager to begin with. By now it had been all but chucked out the window, offering him respite from the constant fear that danger would find him. A servant came flying in the room in a fluster. Master, terrible news. Quit your blustering. What's going on? I'm sorry, we have guests at the front gate. Guests? Idiots, send them away. I don't have time to entertain. I understand that you have your hands full, but it's... Grinnehay scrambled out of the room the moment he heard the name. He sprinted through the hallway, booked it down the stairs, and skidded to a stop at the front entrance of the building. He saw a few people huddled together. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Marquis Ankadol. In the center was one boy with a regal countenance that signified noble lineage. His youth and features agreed with the description that Grinnehay had heard. You're here. Indeed, he turned to Grinnehay with a bold smile. I am the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Natra, Wayne Salema Arbalest. All right, time for our main match, Wayne thought. Grinnehay gaped at him in surprise and confusion and fear. A whole assortment of emotions. Wayne evenly met his gaze. How could he break Grinnehay's spirit and spend as little money as possible? The answer is both simple and obvious. Go crush him himself. That was why Wayne had arrived in Ankadol. But of course he was shouldering great risk. Guards! Attack! Grinnehay shouted, and soldiers quickly rushed to his side with weapons. Sounds about right. Grinnehay wasn't just a moth to a flame. It was a bigger deal than that. But Wayne had already accounted for this, and he had a predecessor who'd marched into enemy territory with a small entourage of her own. Wayne had no reason to be worried. Crap, I might die. Or maybe he did, based on the soldiers gathering in droves and looking like they were ready to attack at any moment. This made even Wayne take a step back. Your Highness, Rackham was among the guards he'd brought along, and his hand grazed his sword. Wait, not yet. Wayne held up his own hand to stop them before projecting his voice. Marquis Ankadol, I'd appreciate it if you called off your guards. I'm not here to fight. How dare you tell me that? You killed my son Geralt. That's why I'm here. There appears to be a huge miscommunication between us. I've come myself to explain and make concessions. Miscommunication, you say? And what would that be? Wayne made a face laden with an unspoken intent. If you wish, I'll divulge the details. But is that what you want? For me to tell you here? Apprehension flashed across Grinnehay. Wayne saw right through his reaction. He's got something in mind, and he isn't surprised that I know about it. Which means he thinks Geralt's death has something to do with the revolt. Great. Wayne decided on his course of action with a speed that Grinnehay couldn't even dream of matching. Marquis Ankadol, don't you think it would be mutually beneficial for us to sit down and talk? I have a message from Princess Loamina for you, and I'd like to hand over your son's remains. Wayne pointed outside. There is a wagon loaded on top with a coffin fit for an aristocrat. Inside was Geralt's corpse. And wouldn't you want to avoid bloodshed in front of your son? This wasn't to appeal to his emotional side, but by invoking Geralt's name, Wayne had given Grinnehay a reason to call his guards off, or a way out. And sure enough, Grinnehay nodded begrudgingly. Fine, I'll arrange a meeting. Wayne grinned. Wonderful. I promise it will be productive. The Crown Prince of Natra is here? Owl instinctively shouted in astonishment at the shocking report. There's no mistake. He arrived at Ankadol's mansion just now. Well, shit. One problem after another. Owl kicked a nearby chair, sending it flying across the room. Al vented about these unwelcome developments as he gathered his thoughts. How large is his party? Just 5. How stupid to think a crown prince would come to a foreign nation with such a lacking entourage. At the same time, this was how he'd managed to keep this visit on the down low. Since he'd done the unimaginable, if he'd dragged along a group of hundreds, they would have detected him before he'd reached the town. But Al was sure this ballsy move would cost the prince his life. After all, Grinahay's pawns weren't the only ones in town. And how many of our men are ready to go? Around 10. Gather everyone. If the prince survives and leaves the mansion, we'll be there to bring him down. What about our people involved in the other situation? We could call them back. No need. We'll work in tandem. Understood. As Al spat his orders at his underlings, he had the keen sense they were falling behind. There was no question that the Crown Prince of Natra had taken the initiative. That's why I'm going too. With newfound resolve, Al began making his preparations. First, I wish to extend my sincerest apologies over the death of Lord Geralt. In the room arranged for them, Wayne expressed his regrets first as he sat face to face with Grinahay. You may find this hard to believe, but I did not intend for him to die. There is no way I could trust you. Yeah, I figured. Wayne could sympathize with Grinahay's vitriol. If he hadn't seen it firsthand, he would have thought it was premeditated murder too. Who would have thought the guy would fling himself out of a window? Let's say I believe you. Why did he die? It was the question Wayne had been waiting for, because it was the Imperial Princess's will. What? I'll be frank, Marquis Ankadol. Her Imperial Highness knew everything. Those with a lot to hide couldn't help feeling antsy when others say that they know everything. This was particularly heightened when they have authority over you, and the look on Grinahay's face showed that the attack had been effective. Knew what? His voice trembled as Grinahay did his best to play the innocent. Wayne mercilessly gave chase. About your involvement in the upcoming revolt, of course. What? A word of advice. Wayne stopped Grinahay, who looked as if he were about to object. Any chance to weasel your way out of this is long gone. I have proof. Even if I happen to die here, I'm guessing the Imperial forces will come here sooner or later. Don't be stupid. I would never. It had to be a bluff. Wayne had no evidence. Grinahay could theoretically talk his way out of it. Go on, take the bait. Wayne knew a bluff wouldn't be enough to take him down. He was dropping breadcrumbs to lead Grinahay on. There's no way That's it. If you're telling me the truth, then why are you here? Are you saying you've come to deliver Geralt's body and hand me my death sentence? Hook, line, and sinker. Wayne wouldn't let this moment pass him by. Would you laugh if I said I've come to save you? What do you mean? Princess Wilhelmina intends to crush your household. As a true patriot, she's merciless to enemies of the Empire. I've cooperated with her plot since we became friends when I was studying in there. But it seems our goals are slightly different. There was no way for Grinahay to notice. He hadn't noticed that he was getting lost in Wayne's completely believable account where fiction piled upon fiction. He began to see those fabrications not for what they were, but as absolute truth. It'd be great for our kingdom if the Garen state could remain an understanding neighbor. If you're defeated, the land will be confiscated and the state governor will come to inherit its power. That would be a pain. That man has no respect for royal blood. I mean, though you've become a vassal of the Empire, you carry the blood of the royal family. A future where nobility are expelled. Ensuing days where the masses get their way, ignorant of proper bloodlines. Isn't that a dreadful one? Needless to say, Wayne didn't actually believe this one bit. He always thought lineage didn't matter all that much. However, a great deal of people throughout the continent thought it had value, and he knew this belief was especially prevailing among the aristocrats. If that's the case, he had no qualms about exploiting it. Wayne was a politician, not a philosopher. And the topic of lineage lowered Grinahay's guard. That's true. You're right, but save me. What do you plan to do? No need to fear, for the root of all evil, Lord Geralt, is death, after all. Come again? Grinahay was dumbfounded. Wayne faced him with a grotesque smile. If anyone else had seen, they would have sworn they were looking into the face of a devil. A harrowing tale. Oh, haunting. He forgot his loyalty to the Empire. kept his own parent locked in this house for the sake of his cause, and took advantage of the revolt out of a desire for independence. A beast in human form. Wait, you can't be. But when you consider his reputation in the Empire, many will agree or even sympathize with you. Princess Lowelmina managed to sniff out his villainous nature, lay down the trap, and slay him. Nothing short of magnificent. Damn you, pinning everything on Geralt. Of course, Wayne interrupted Grinnehay. Of course, the blame would be put on you. It's your duty as a parent to atone for your child's deeds. But the princess vows to resolve the matter by reducing your territory in size. If you bring proof of your participation in this plan and testify that you are unable to stop your son from attempting to enact this scheme... Grinnehay trembled, shuddering in response to Wayne's fearsome energy. That's just how it is, Marquise Ankadol. You're a victim. Bear the dishonor with distinction and beg for the clemency of Princess Lowelmina and Natra. Wayne was letting his venom sink in bit by bit as he led Grinnehay to an escape route. When humans are driven into a corner, they tend to lash out. But if there's anything that resembles an escape, they tend to make their way out of it. Which means Geralt, Grinnehay started in a tight voice, really was assassinated. It came at the end of a bitter road, but it was a necessary act of justice. That was a huge lie. He died in an accident, but now that he was gone, Wayne would twist everything at his disposal to his advantage, including Geralt's posthumous reputation and cause of death. The dead can't talk. They could only be lauded by the living. A necessary sacrifice, huh? I understand you're mourning the loss of your child, but the survival of your lineage takes precedence. Continue the Ankadol name, and I assure you, you'll see the light of day in another life. Come, it's time to make a sensible decision, as your late father would have wished. Grinnehay was silent. His mind must have been racing faster than ever before. Come on, come on, come on, Wayne prayed as he waited for Grinnehay to come to a decision. There was a long, long pause before he spoke. I'll prepare for departure. Give me some time. Oh, yeah. Wayne pumped his fist vigorously in his mind. On the outside, he nodded in satisfaction and held out his hand. You've made a fine decision. I'm sure everything will be settled.